And we are live for another Biddle Saturday night, Cinco de Mayo.
Good evening, guys.
Indeed it is.
What's going on?
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. Wait, before we go into the Ubuntus, Matt, you've been playing games.
Yes, and not that kind of games, but very very badly playing games.
Come on.
Yeah.
What have you been playing, Matt?
Well, I played Rise of the Tomb Raider, obviously. So I've been enjoying that thoroughly. And some Ryan and I and Scrap decided to try out some Trine 3.
Nice. And how did the Trine 3 go?
Epically fun, but epically bad all the same amount of time.
It's awesome. I love it.
I don't think I've ever died so much in a platformer.
Wait, so I tried to watch your game, and what Zeb? I get this, Rocket. We're not broadcasting.
That was probably a really good game then, because you just saw the black screen.
Yeah, we're not broadcasting, so I guess it wasn't going too well.
We wanted to try it because none of us had actually played it.
But that's the perfect game to broadcast. That's like the perfect game to stream when you haven't tried it and you're just fumbling around. It's awesome.
Well, that's what the other two games are for, though. There is a series of trying games.
Yeah, well, I started to play the first one. I think it was. Because I have the first and second one. I just haven't played the second one yet. And yeah, I only got like a little bit into it. It was different kind of game for me because I wasn't used to like having to switch characters.
Yeah, there's this weird puzzle solving element where like certain characters can help solve certain things, but the new one's a little bit different because they went from that 2D 2.5D view that they had in the first two to a 3D view. So
right.
It's different. Personally, I like the 3D view, but I think aesthetically the 2.5D view works better.
Right. Joe?
But Joe.
No, Joe's on a different camera. Yep. Derek, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Is Pulse Audio working today?
Yeah, it is today.
Always got to check.
Joe's on a laptop.
That's right. Because what? Okay, so let me ask you a question. But like before we go any further, why is it still that way? I mean, like everybody says. Like I had some guy, and I won't mention his name, but he was talking about interviewing him on Destination Linux, and he's like, "Oh, I figure I'll try this because better than Pulse Audio." Like why is that? Why are we still in that situation today? I don't get it.
It's been a problem since I first joined Linux back in 2009. There was that big debate: do we go ALSA? Do we go Pulse Audio? And audio on Linux has never been rock solid. Unless you're someone really clever like Scrap, or someone with a bit more savvy. I just tend to boot the distros up and go and set my bits and pieces up in the Pavu control. If they work, they work. If they don't work, I go next and pick another distro.
Same here. I was going to say, I remember when Pulse Audio first got put into Ubuntu, I think it was 8.04, and it was just cringingly bad. You had people literally doing write-ups on how to rip Pulse Audio out of Ubuntu so they could just have ALSA.
Yeah. Well, there are some things that Linux just has never figured out. We've never figured out audio. We've really never figured out the display server. I mean, we've been talking about replacing X for 2 decades.
Yep. Yeah, even for security reasons.
Been working.
Yeah, but seriously though, that's a major hurdle that we really need to like overcome.
Yeah.
Somehow or some way, we got to put our heads together and get the. I mean, this something as simple as, okay, maybe it's not simple to do, but something as basic as you would expect an operating system to do, we should be able to do it by now.
Yeah.
And
even
do
the
it well.
Even the Mac does, audio and video well. I mean, and that's BSD based. Why can't Linux,
Right.
solve?
Because Linux will create another standard for another standard.
Well, as Keegan says in the chat, it's not a problem; it's a tradition.
And the problem is, though, they'll bring out this standard, and then KDE will fork it to their standard, and GNOME will fork it to their standard, and nobody uses the standard. Well, it doesn't seem to do so anymore, anyway.
Mm-hmm. It's always been a problem, though. I mean, we've always had this. Oh well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this core component and do my own thing, but completely disregard everybody else's thing that they're working. The mentality.
It's always been that way with Linux, and it's always going to be that way. That's why a couple of weeks ago we were talking about systemd, and Michael said it's the standard. No, it's not. Gentoo is never going to systemd, no matter what. They're staying on OpenRC. Even if Gentoo decided to go to systemd, somebody else would fork Gentoo without systemd, and it would just keep going. So.
Well, that's what happened with Debian and Dev1, isn't it? The Dev1 guys wanted to no systemd.
Yeah, they wanted to go back with sysv, even though nobody liked it. So.
Right.
And isn't Antix non-systemd?
It is, yeah.
I know MX tries to be, but it has it installed if you need to use it for whatever reason.
Yeah,
I don't quite know how that works, but
I think you can use either sysv or systemd on MX, but on Antix you don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I might as well go into my woes right away and get that out of the way so we can get past it.
Did you hop?
Okay, so
of course.
No, don't disregard the question. Did you hop?
Anyway, no, I didn't hop. I was looking to install Pop! OS to see, the latest and greatest of it. And man, I had so much trouble installing this thing. And I shouldn't have, and I don't know if it had partial to do with Pop! OS or partial to do with hardware issues. But I used the custom partitioning. I have a SSD that has 4 partitions on it, and I used the custom partitioning to install it, and it failed. So I did it again. I figured, well, I'll try it again, and it failed again. So I figured, well, maybe I've heard people before mention about the custom partitioning, so I just decided, you know what? I'll just try. I gotta try it, so I'll just try installing it completely using the main button to install. But that means I have to wipe out my whole hard drive that has all 4 or 5 operating systems that I have on it. But I wanted to try this so bad that I figured, it's worth it. So, and that included losing elementary Loki on there. So that's how bad I wanted to try Pop! OS, and I did, and it installed, and it went through the install without any errors, and then I went to boot up on it, and nothing but a blank cursor when I booted up into it. Then I booted up into it again, and I took a picture of the error, and I forget exactly what it said. It said boot to could not find the EFI. It says EFI stub error, failed to read file. So I don't know exactly what that was, but it wouldn't boot into Pop! OS. So, okay, I figure I go back to GNOME. I try to boot up into GNOME, and the GNOME grub is now completely screwed up. Like, oh my gosh. And this is like, I don't know, an hour or two before Biddle. I'm like, oh yeah, this is great timing. Great timing to do this. So I tried to install Ubuntu to that hard drive, and it installed. But I also got some type of error, and I didn't take a picture of that when I tried to boot into it. So I decided to try another drive to see if it was the drive. So I installed Ubuntu to another drive that I had, and it installed fine. And it obviously, because it replaced the grub for the main system, I was able to boot into the GNOME edition again. But like, well, I just don't understand why. Like, if it was a hardware issue with that one drive, or if it was, I'm afraid to try it now and completely screw everything up again.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another problem with Pop! OS. If you were doing this and this was your only operating system, you couldn't even use Pop! OS as a live USB because they don't even include system rescue tools like Gparted on their ISO. So you would still need some other distro to rescue Pop! OS.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Let's see. They had, I don't know if they had it on the, are you talking about the beta, or are you talking about the 1804 release ISO for them?
For Pop! OS, I haven't checked out the latest one, but the one before that, I know it didn't include Gparted on the...
I think the 1804 one does. I'm trying to remember, because...
If they did, then that's good, because they're listening to a lot of people that gave them hell about that. So.
Yeah, now, look, their installer is really, really nice. Zeb, you were talking about the installer earlier. What did you think of it?
It's like all of these things. Why break something that works? I mean, I know everybody hates the Ubiquity installer because it's been there forever, but it works. So why do you need to mess around with something? And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think, like you, it wouldn't install to pre-configured partitions. Now, with my setup and 4 SSDs and about 10 partitions, that's a given. It's a must. I can't just say, here's the whole drive, take it.
Right.
And I think, like you, I've eventually got it all sorted out, rebooted, black screen, and this EFI error message. But thankfully, I've got multiple EFI partitions on mine, so I can go back in and pick Peppermint, which is my go-to distro and has never failed me yet. So that's what I tend to then do, reboot into Pep and have another go. But no, I wasn't impressed with it, so why mess with something that just works?
Well, the installer, I thought the idea of what they were doing, because the installer itself is beautiful. I mean, they've done a great job in the way it looks, but when you're doing an installer, it's so detailed. Like, it's so many combinations of configurations that it has to go through. And like you said, Seb, when you got all of these different partitions and drives and everything else, it's got to be rock solid. And I think maybe it just needs a little bit more time before it can handle everything. Sure, it can handle like the main partitions and everything, but I think it just needs a little bit more work and time to be able to handle all the different possibilities or something, because it's definitely not fail-safe. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And it also did something strange to me on LMV or LLV, whatever the terminology is, that does weird things to all of your partitions. I know for a fact that I turned that flipping thing off, and yet when I did eventually get rebooted into something and I looked at Gparted, there was all these odd partitions all over the place, and it took me forever to try and work out how to delete them, how to get rid of them, how to get back to just normal extension 4. So when you untick an option, you expect it to stay unticked.
Right.
So yeah, I wasn't happy, and to be honest, I won't be going back to that particular installer anytime soon. So I hope Juno's not going to run with it.
Well, I guess they're like, kind of gone together with their installer. So I don't think, if I remember hearing correctly, I don't think they're going to go with that installer yet. I think it's not going to be until like the point release that they would go with that.
Now, which installer is this one you're talking about?
The one that Elementary and System 76 Pop! OS are working on together.
Oh, is that the what's the name of that one?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's not the Ubiquity.
Yeah, I forget what the name of it is, but it's an in-house thing that they're doing.
Oh, it's not a Calamaris one. Oh.
No, it's one that they're creating, basically. And
they're creating one.
It's really nice. Don't get me wrong. It really does look good, especially it's got that polished look, and it's kind of easy on the eyes for new users and stuff, and that's great. But it's also got to work perfectly. If it's going to be an installer, it's got to work perfectly, and it's not quite there yet.
So
Joe?
Has anyone tried it? Because I've missed this conversation because this thing's been messing me around all since I got here.
You mean Pop OS? Colin?
Me or
His
Joe?
internet's still messing him about, I think.
Yeah, Colin, are you talking about Pop OS?
I think Colin has.
Well, the new installer. Yeah, Pop OS.
Yeah, we just actually got
frozen.
done. We actually got done talking about that, Colin. There's some major issues with it, but.
And yes, you're frozen, mate. Over.
Yeah.
How's that one go?
Lamer, what's happening, brother?
The good thing is you got audio, so.
Just testing out Ubuntu 18.04 and stuff.
Better be careful what I say then.
Yeah.
You might volume could do with going up a little bit, Lamer.
Well,
yeah, Lamer. So, what do you think of Ubuntu, man?
Pretty awesome, actually. Better than 16.04.
Yep. Joe, you got your audio working yet, Joe? No. Okay.
He can hear us, but he can't speak. Have you tried unmuting yourself? Because there's just a big mute sign on at the moment.
Yeah.
But I also bought me a new mic stand because the original that came with this mic broke and there was no replacement except this mic stand. So I'm testing this out.
Nice.
Yeah. Open up the Pulse Audio volume control, Joe, and make sure everything's set right there.
Yeah, but see, that's what I was going to say earlier when we were talking about Pulse Audio is every single time I would ever open up Pulse Audio, the POV control there, it would mess everything up on my sound. Like, everything would be screwed up, and I would be so mad. This last time that I opened it up was the first time that it ever just worked, where I disabled certain sound devices, and it just worked right.
What I've noticed is, every program writes a config file somewhere, some plain text file in the .config folder or wherever, the .pulse audio folder in this case. And for some reason, sometimes you get an update of Pulse Audio and it overwrites your config. It gives you a new one. So everything you had set right is no longer there. So then you got to go back and fix it. Yeah.
Well, like I said, this is the first time it's worked. So.
Well, sorry, Zed.
No, go on, mate.
My Ubuntu 18.04 beta 2 had an update come through this morning, so it's actually updated to the 18.04. So I don't know if that's what's causing my problems. Am I still frozen or?
No, you're good.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah. For the moment, you are.
I can become a meme, maybe.
In the chat, Prophetic had a hashtag reboot, Joe.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Madhouse had some really nice help for Joe as well.
Turn it on, turn it back
Hey,
on.
there's Joe.
Yeah, well,
Twice.
I'm back on my regular system. I'm back on my regular system. So I thought I'd be slick, and I come in on Ubuntu on the laptop, and you saw how fun this has been.
That's KDE. That's the problem.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to say that I don't know how it is because I haven't tried the latest one, but KDE and sound don't always work together well.
You're on it twice.
Hold on, it's so great.
No, I mean, like, if you only have one sound output and that's all you got, and yeah, it may work for you. But if you got multiple sound outputs, it has some issues.
I finally got the earbuds so I could hear you, but then it muted me, which is what you guys were teasing me about, and I couldn't get it to unmute unless I stopped the audio part of it for the earbud. It was just weird. It's just
Joe, we would never tease you.
Yeah,
no, never.
We don't tease on Big Daddy Linux Live, do we?
That's right.
No, it's only Michael and Ryan that we tease. And
now, here. Joe, we're going to have like a frozen you throughout the show now.
Well, I rebooted the computer, so I don't know why it's still stuck.
Oh, there it went.
It's gone.
Okay.
The stream is frozen.
Well, you know what the best part is I put Ubuntu 18.04 on here, and it's on the 64 gig dongle. And then I also partitioned it, and I put Ubuntu Mate on there, 18.04. And I tried to label them, and it wouldn't let me label it. So in the grub, I see Peppermint, I see the Windows original hard drive in there. So those are two different drives. On this other one, it just shows Ubuntu 18.04 twice. It's two different partitions, so I have to remember which one's on which if I want to get on it the right way.
Yeah, but you won't see that relabeling in Grub unless you go in and edit Grub.
Yeah, I know.
The label side of it, you'll only see on Gparted. But
well, it will do it. It will put it in there if there are all just 3 individual drives, and I only had one distro on each one. But because I partitioned the one flash drive for 2 distros, that's why it's doing it. Otherwise, it would, because it did it with MX on there.
Yeah, but all Kubuntu, which is really frustrating because they do the same in EFI as well. No matter which Ubuntu you install, you end up with Ubuntu in your Grub and Ubuntu in your EFI. So like you said, you could have Mate, you could have Budgie, you could have Lubuntu, Kubuntu, Zubuntu, and all of a sudden you've got 5 Grub entries almost identical apart from the drive that they're sitting on. And in EFI, you've just got Ubuntu, and the last Ubuntu to be installed is what sits in the EFI. They make no attempt to rebrand themselves, relabel themselves.
No,
and
they don't.
Frustrating.
And I got something, even with this Ubuntu Mate, the 1804, it's telling me there's a problem, but it's not telling me what it is every time I boot up, and yet the system runs fine. I'm not going to report it or keep reporting it because it's not changing anything. It's just frustrating. It's like, I don't know. Stick with what works, right?
Yes. No, it's not frustrating, Joe. It's the joys of distro hopping.
No, that's why last week I swore off distro hopping. No more.
Well, that's why I trusted 1710 here, and it's fine. You saw how fast it came in, and everything works. So
on my main machine, Rocco, no more. I'm done.
Derek, no. Permission denied. No, resignation not accepted. No.
With one caveat: as long as everything works, I'm sticking.
I don't know how many times I've said that, and we're only in May.
Yeah.
So, what are you sticking with?
Manjaro right now because everything's working. So
everything's working for now.
For now, yeah.
And which version did you start with, and what Windows Manager desktop are you running?
I installed their i3 edition, and I installed Qtile and Xmonad with i3. So I've got those 3 tiling window managers on here.
Mm-hmm.
You'd make Ryan so happy.
Yeah. Well, he's on OpenBox now, so I'm tiling. He's going back to what I was using, OpenBox. So.
I thought he was on Ubuntu. Or was he gone Ubuntu with OpenBox?
Yeah, I
don't know.
Who are we talking about?
Ryan's on Ubuntu. Plain Ubuntu.
Yeah, he went back to Ubuntu.
Yeah,
that's good.
Right.
Every video he makes, he's in KDE, and I don't understand it. He's the i3 king. Every video is all KDE. So.
Well, I don't know if he's going to make it tonight because he was feeling under the weather. He was sick, but yeah, it's like he likes both. He likes KDE and he likes i3. So I don't know, man.
That's so strange because they're so different.
They are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can kind of do similar things with KDE if you really want to, but yeah, they're completely different out of the box.
Completely different workflows. Yeah, just strange. Yeah. I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Says the guy who just did a 30-minute video on Fluxbox.
I like Fluxbox though. I could live happily in Fluxbox.
I don't think that I've tried Fluxbox in a long time.
I'm not even sure if it's really under development anymore.
I think they stopped. Maybe.
No,
I'm not sure.
You mean like Void? Void Linux, Eric?
No. Yeah, Void is still under development. They just lost their main dev, as in nobody has had any contact with him for like 3 or 4 months, like 0. They don't even know if the guy's alive. So,
well, I don't know if I would consider it then still under development.
Well, they have a lot of development. There's a lot of people that are working on it though, and they're going to continue releasing. They're still working.
Okay,
it's just it's kind of you need the main dev because. I give the passwords to a lot of things like the Git repos and stuff they're having problems with because they need this guy to let the other guys, if they're going to continue with Void, continue with that. So if this guy has passed away or he's in jail or something, they're going to have problems.
Last time I tried Fluxbox was Manjaro Fluxbox.
Yeah.
I was going to say, according to Wikipedia, the last stable release for Fluxbox was 3 years ago.
That's a long time.
They move at XFCE speed.
Right?
Hey, don't knock it. XFCE is the one to go to if you want a rock solid experience. You might not like the way it looks. You might not like the way they do things, but it works out of the box. I mean, I'm messing around with something called Zebian at the moment, which is a distribution that tries to take Ubuntu but base it on Debian, and it works. I mean, the guy's only put the distro out for about the last 6 months, but it just works day in, day out, and you can get it looking pretty enough.
Actually, I want to clarify something in the chat. One of the guys was asking what Fluxbox dev went to jail. That jail comment was just a joke. We were talking about Void Linux. Their main dev has disappeared. Nobody's heard from him. So
he fell off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
If you're a flat earther, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to say you just started the rumor that the Fluxbox dev went to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emails to distrotube at
Yep. Just hit me up on Facebook.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I deleted that account, so you can't get me on Facebook. So.
Why did you do that now, dude? Why? Tell me why.
Out of principle. I don't like Facebook anyway. The only reason I had an account was because of the YouTube channel. People expected me to have a Facebook presence, but I never liked it. I didn't post much to it. So because of all the privacy stuff, I just went ahead and requested they delete my personal page. They deleted the DistroTube page, all that. I want it gone. I want nothing to do with them.
You tried it, but you went to another social network.
Yeah, but diaspora. I mean, they're not evil.
That we know of.
Actually, I don't know if they're evil or not because I've been a member for 2 days, so I don't know what.
But you need to watch a Lunduk video on his escapades of trying to get his Facebook account deleted, because they say they've deleted it, but you could go back to it 6 months later and say, oh yeah, let me sign in again, and it's all still there. Hang on a minute, I told you to delete my account. That means everything, please, but you can go back in, so you've got to keep hammering them, Derek, until they actually tell you.
Yeah, I've seen Brian's videos on that, and I expect some of my stuff to live forever on Facebook. I mean, if they decide not to delete it, I mean, can I force them to? I mean,
no, you can't. It's there forever anyway.
It's their property. I mean, I gave them permission. Everything I put on there is their property. So at the end of the day,
it's a shame that that's the way it is, but that's the way it is. It's a service you're using. It's like Google and YouTube. You know, it's like, don't be evil, but we have to. Well, we don't have to. We could not use Google. We could not be on YouTube. But at the end of the day, we're choosing to be here. So then it's pretty much our doing if something negative happens to it. So
that's the thing about this diaspora. I haven't looked into it too much, but from what they say, I own my data. It's nobody else can sell it or do anything with it. Or so if you're looking for privacy, I think it's a good option.
Well, I haven't had a Facebook account in quite a few years, so never had the desire to. So
I didn't see the point of Facebook anyway. I mean, the things people post on Facebook, the time people waste on Facebook, that's not me.
It's shocking, isn't it? I mean,
I can't do that.
I've had a hard day at work. I'm going to get drunk in the bath.
Yeah, let me show you a picture. Let me take a selfie.
Who cares?
Or the people that you work with that suck at their job want to be what is it? What they call it? Passive aggressive and talk about you, but not talk about you.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, it's nothing but bait. I don't have a drama book.
So I deleted my Facebook page. I haven't told any of my friends and family about it. So all the people that were friends on Facebook with me, they have no idea yet.
They do now
because you befriended them.
I'm going to leave it that way. I'm just going to tell all these people, especially the ones I don't want to talk to anyway, the family members I don't care about. Yeah, just hit me up on Facebook.
Madhouse asked in the chat that if I should sign in and see if my stuff is still all there. It's been quite a few years. I don't even remember the password. I don't even want to try to remember the password. And I guess I could reset it and try it, but no. It's probably still there.
If you reset it, then it must still be there.
Well, I didn't reset anything. Like,
well, I'm saying, if you try to reset your password and it comes back with, yeah, just hit this link, you know it's still there.
I don't even know what email I was using at the time. So it's been like I'd say it's at least, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years,
That must
8
be
years.
Little Daddy, Linux.
You don't know the email. Do you email hop?
I have 13 email accounts in my Thunderbird right now. Yeah,
because I've had the same email for like 20 years.
Nah. Yeah, I do email hop. I do. I have to say that.
No, I've just got the two, my real name and then Zebedee Boss. That's it.
Well, you know, it's like this thing that you think that well, it'd be cool to have that service email.
Yeah.
You know, and then you end up creating like 12 of them and different services, and then you're like, well, maybe I should delete that one. And it's just a habit of not cleaning up, probably.
I've never done webmail. I've never had a webmail account. I just buy my own domains. I mean, it's
nice.
What, $8 a year to buy a domain? $7-8. Just buy your own domain and host your own emails. Yeah.
Yep, that's probably the best way to go, actually. But
I haven't dove into hosting my own emails yet. I do have my own domain.
Yeah,
but
well, of course I have my own domain, but I don't know about email.
I think I did it in the first 2 years, and then it was just too much hassle to maintain, so I just went back to Google Mail.
Yeah.
I've got one with BT Internet, which is my service provider, but I don't think I've logged into that for years, and I'm pretty sure I just said I will forward everything to Google.
Well, I say I don't have any webmail accounts. I do have a Gmail account because to have an Android phone, you have to have a Gmail account.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the address is, so I couldn't even check that either. I created one so I could get my phone, but other than that.
Right.
You see, Rocco, we're not the only one who don't use Simple Note.
I know, right? Well, hey, I started using Simple Note, and I am actually loving using it. That's all I'm going to say. Because I've been putting pretty much everything in there that I can think of that I need, and I can access it from my phone, even if my computer's not running or if I'm on a different distro. I can still access it, and yeah, it's pretty cool, actually.
So you remember it's there to use as well?
I've been making it a point, Zeb, because I am so sick and tired of, and I'll give you an example. The setup for all of them 12 email accounts, all of the IMAP and SMTP server and all the ports, all the
passwords, especially if it was weird passwords. Yeah.
Well, I haven't put the passwords in there because I don't know how secure Simple Note is as far as account wise, but I put all of the info on ports and IMAP and all that stuff in there so that no matter what email client I'm trying out, whether it's Evolution or that I have it and I don't have to go chasing it down. It's all in one spot. So yeah, I've been making a point to use it, and it's been coming in handy.
Wouldn't it be nice if email clients, you could just import a little file like you do with your VPN where all that information is there, and it's just like import, and you go select a file and it just reads it and then it configures itself. That'd be great.
Thunderbird isn't too bad as far as importing different services because they have a lot of default ones in there, although they don't have GMX in there, which is one of the ones that I use. And the other problem is you're talking about importing a file, which would be awesome because like Evolution doesn't have the same import structure that Thunderbird has, and neither does any of the other ones really. So yeah, it would be cool to have that. Yep.
But we know it's not going to happen anytime soon. So
no, jeez, man, we can't even get a good-looking client. I mean, Thunderbird's looking dated, but
they've got a beta that looks really nice, don't they?
Well, they got a beta, but when I downloaded the beta, it didn't look any different than the main Thunderbird, unless you have to enable some crazy theme.
Because there was something a couple months back where I thought they had a material design version.
Well, they have the monorail theme that they're working on with, and I did the monorail theme, and I actually have it showing on my Thunderbird, but you have to go into the settings and reset certain colors and sizes to be right, because if you don't like the turquoise look of it, the light version of it doesn't show up the color scheme as far as when you're clicked on, or at least on mine, I don't know, this is my experience, when I am clicked on whatever account I'm on, the writing is white and the highlight is white, so you don't even see what the email is or the name of it because it's white. And the other problem you have is the subject line. When you click on different emails, some of the emails are set perfectly as far as height, and some of them are so huge that they go over all of the other text around the subject box. So it looks terrible. I had to actually go in and mess with the theme config to the layout to change it so that it wasn't so messed up. So I guess they're working on it. But
that thing that Scrap talked about, didn't that happen when the guy jumped ship from System 76 to go to Thunderbird? Was he
Ryan Sipes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the community manager now, and yeah, he is They are working on the monorail thing. It's just not there yet. That's
not there yet. Yeah. I tried to swap into it, but I've got too many PST files going back over too many years. So I just use webmail or fire up the Windows laptop. Oh, sorry, you'll have to bleep that.
Uh-oh. It says live, Zeb. We can't delete that out. Oh, my gosh. So, Scrap, you were helping some guy out in Discord? Yeah? Todd from Linux Consortium?
Yeah, he was asking me just some general questions on how I do my setup. Basically, like hardware that I use.
Nice.
Trading a little back and forth. So, yeah.
So, is everybody like sick of the Ubuntus, or you want to talk about them?
No.
Don't sugarcoat that.
I don't sugarcoat anything, Rock.
One at a time.
Well, I don't know if you've seen AJ's video. I was talking about this yesterday, but AJ had the red screen of death. So I don't know if you've seen his video.
No, I haven't seen it.
And I actually got it as well. So when I installed Ubuntu on my test laptop and I was doing a video, I installed the community theme, which is now a Snap. You actually log out, you log back in under the community theme. Yep. And I also got just a red screen with a mouse. That's what AJ got.
I got that too, Colin.
Did you? Mm-hmm. And then I restarted, and then it was red screen. And then the next day, I gave it a day, I started the laptop back up, and it booted in. So I don't know what happened there, but I uninstalled the community theme. So and now I've reinstalled it. It's working all right, but I haven't done nothing with the community theme. So it is a Snap. So I don't know whether that's causing issues. I don't know whether AJ was using community theme or not, but that was just really weird.
I know everybody raves about them, but I just can't get behind Snap. They just don't work on my systems for some reason. And I don't know if it's because the developers don't follow the way it's meant to do, but for me, I install a Snap, and before I can use it, I've got to reboot. What's all that about?
With Snap, I've never had it ask me to reboot.
No,
it doesn't ask you, but if you go and find it in the Snap directory, it's not in my menu, it's not in the Snap, or I can see it in the Snap directory, but nothing happens. Reboot, bingo, it's in the Snap menu, it's in the menu, and I can then run the exe if I find it. Not the exe, but the image.
Right.
Run. So no, I'm not in love with Snaps at all, sorry.
Well, Snaps and Flatpak, if you install Snaps are by default with all Ubuntu base now, and if you install Flatpak support, just go to the Software Center, install it from there. You just do a search for your whatever app you're looking for, and then if you scroll down when you click on that, it'll show you where the source is from, whether it's Flatpak, Bionic Universe, or it's from Snap. So they're all there now.
Yeah, I still use Ryan's little installer script that he made, and the first two items on there are install Snap and install Flatpak. So I'm assuming he's done that all correct.
I've never had problems with Snaps. The only problems I've ever had in Snaps, oddly enough, is the Ubuntu releases recently. I don't understand why, but I've used them in Arch and Manjaro and, whoever, Sabian, one of the Gen 2 distros that has Systemd. They just work, but like in Ubuntu Mate, I had that one Snap that just wouldn't load. Their welcome greeter, I think, is a Snap. I couldn't get that thing to work. You guys have had problems with mainline Ubuntu, some of their Snaps. The community,
I know
the Snap. A lot of people are having problems with that. So.
Yep. I know that Discord is definitely one of the snaps that I had issues with.
Okay.
Where if I right click on the icon in the system tray or the notification tray there to close or quit, you'll hit quit and it'll close and it'll reopen immediately. And it'll do that over and over and over again. You can't leave the Discord that you're on, or you can't close the program. So you have to actually kill the program in the terminal.
That is
wow.
That is weird because I don't have that issue.
I only ever use the web version of Discord because I find that with the app, the minute they bring out a new version, they deprecate the old one. So you can't log in until you've updated. Well, if it's not in your repo, how the hell do you update it? Unless you're going to go to their website and download the new one again. And then that defeats the object of running it. So
well, they do have a thing where mine updated recently. If you go to load it, it'll bring a little box up. It'll say, "Hey, we have a new version. Download it." And you just click, and then it'll take you directly to your browser and download, and you just install from there.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's not that big a deal. I mean,
well, I was going to say because Scrap, when you Ryan and I were playing Trine, I fired up Discord, and first thing, because I used the snap image for it, it had an update, and it was just it was there. It was oh, we're updating, and it was updated.
So the snap has an automated update then? Okay.
The only snap program I got is Spotify, and that's been working well for me.
Yeah. I've got Discord on Manjaro, and I think I installed it as a snap. I've got no problems with Discord. So.
Well, it's not like this is a major issue for everybody because nobody else that I know of has this issue. But every single time I install it through a snap, it happens, and yet I can download the deb file from Discord and installs and has no problems. So,
I've had that glitch on an earlier version of Discord, but not on later ones. So it may be because sometimes a snap is has some older code in it, and they're not as up to date. Because not every app as a snap is maintained by the same people that do the main
that actually do the main release for it. Yeah.
Well, with snaps, you've got to run an update. Is it in the terminal or not? Or they update automatically?
Snap update.
Yeah, I think so. It's similar to app update. It's just snap update.
Yes, something like that, isn't it?
Refresh, I think.
Snap refresh.
Somebody posted that in the chat.
I'm not sure if it's a great idea to have any snap apps as part of the boot up sequence, so to speak. Because couldn't they cause some issues or something? I mean, installing a snap when the system is running, that's probably fine. No drama there. But any part of the boot up sequence, should they really be part of that? I know the Mate welcome screen is a snap app now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I believe the Budgie welcome screen might be a snap as well. So, and then this community theme for Ubuntu, which caused me some issues. I don't know if it's the snap app or the snap part of it that caused the issue, but don't know.
I get what you're getting at. Is anything that is a part of the core system should be integrated and not boxed.
Yeah, I think so. Yes,
because I had issues with that. I put a snap together for some recording software. I was playing with Solus, and I had problems with it connecting to ALSA and to the sound server. I couldn't get I couldn't get it to work.
Yep.
Well, the other thing I noticed,
they have a layer that cuts it off from that. It's like a security thing built in. I mean, even the piping is there, the plumbing is there. They just don't have the fittings that are for it.
Yeah, I agree. Good point, Scrap. I must say.
Sorry,
the
Rocco.
other thing about that's okay, man. That's okay. The other thing about snaps is that they, at least from my experience, they don't uninstall the old versions. So if you consistently update, like Discord, for example, at one time I had 3 or 4 different versions of Discord on my system. So it's taken up space. Like it was taking up probably a gig of space for all 4 of these versions plus the other 2 apps that I had.
Wow.
And it's like, it's like just too much. So
that they do that kind of like how when your kernel updates, you have to auto remove. Right. You can clean that up, but that's in case the new version is broken. It just goes to the previous one.
There's some uses for that. I mean, having multiple versions that are kind of sandboxed. I mean, if the new version doesn't work for you, you already got the old one.
Right, but I would think that you would want to do it have maybe one or should have a limit. Like the previous one or the previous two even, but I don't think you need every version that you've ever installed on there.
Well, in the case of Discord, deprecating the previous version, it's useless, right?
Right.
So why have one?
So you can't even use the old version.
Chicken in the house.
Chicken.
Ain't nothing but a bird.
Is your audio working yet?
I think.
Yes.
Okay. I have no idea. I don't test these things.
What are you running right now?
Elementary.
Fedora 28.
Oh.
Wow. Oh, Fedora.
Whoa, nice. Wait a minute. Did I hear the Ubuntu man's running Fedora?
It's the Snap thing. I can't do it, which is ironic because we were just talking about it. But I can't do it.
And how are you liking Fedora?
It's amazing, actually. It's been way more stable than I expected. It's crashed only a few times.
So. Only a few.
See, you didn't catch what I said. I said Ubuntu man, but you were actually the elementary guy. It's all elementary to you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask.
Is it GNOME?
Steam installed okay?
Yeah, it's cool. Steam installed okay. Actually, Fedora has their own Steam repository now.
Nice.
So when you install it, if you go into the Software Center, it gives you a little pop-up that says, enable this repository, and it's got Chrome and Steam and this and that.
Wow, excellent.
I think they're making Codex easy to install too, aren't they? Because I heard the developer on Late Night Linux talking about that.
I believe so.
Closing the gap, so to speak, I think.
It's been a lot smoother than it used to be.
Nice.
So, Chicken, I'm going to ask you because I ask everybody, and I don't get a great answer.
It's okay. I have the best answers.
As an Ubuntu user, why would I want to use Fedora? What's the advantage for me to use Fedora?
Well, I think it really depends on what you'd consider an advantage. I know some people use it because it's closer to freedom, quote unquote, than other distros.
That's subjective.
The reason I use it is because typically things are more in line with their sort of their defaults, their intended configurations. So not just Fedora when you install it, gnomes by default and whatnot, but more so that when you install applications, their configurations are more in line to the defaults. Their placements within the file system of all their configurations of where these programs themselves are located. All that stuff is what I consider more pure than how they're kind of tampered with in other systems.
So you're talking about integration.
Yeah. Well, with Solus, they move things around a lot. So if you follow a guide, a lot of the times it's just not going to work.
Right.
And the same goes for other distros. That's one of the reasons I really like it, is because just about anything is where it's originally going to be.
Kind of like the developer makes it, and then they just okay, dev did it this way, we're going to keep it that way, so that way things just roll smooth.
Two words: vanilla GNOME.
Vanilla GNOME.
But I like chocolate.
Well, I view Fedora as the same kind of principle, and they have nothing to do with each other. But this is just the way I box them in my mind. That Fedora is the same as OpenSUSE, where it's a very polished distro. It's beautiful, and it seems more polished than an Ubuntu-based GNOME version. But at the end of the day, it is
way less
extras. Fun. Yeah, it's way less fun, exactly. And the same way with OpenSUSE. They had a beautiful version of KDE, OpenSUSE did, years ago. I used it for a while, and it was probably the best implementation of KDE, 5-10 years ago. But it was just a pain to use for a regular everyday user, and that's kind of where I put the same Fedora in the same category. Not that they're anywhere close together, but
But they have got an awful lot better, because before Fedora 26, I couldn't even get the flipping thing installed. But 26 installed and worked, 27 installed and worked. I haven't yet tried 28, but it sounds like I might be going that way after Chicken's given it such a good.
Well, one of the benefits in terms of the installer is that their installer's really great. Like, I can set up like a RAID configuration super easily through it, whereas in other distros I would have to really go through that.
Yeah. Michael in the house.
Hello.
Hi, Michael.
Fedora 28's installer is great. Fedora 27 and 26 installer is garbage.
Okay.
So what's changed on the 28 installer? Because I've never liked their installer, to be honest.
They removed a bunch of redundant questions. You no longer have to have a password for your user and a password for root.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just an installer like it's supposed to be. Like, it doesn't make you say, okay, are you sure you want to install? Are you really sure you want to install?
One thing I did get sad about is they removed the host name set. Like, there was no reason to remove that, because you could have just left it on its own. It didn't need to be set, but they removed it anyway.
Yeah, that's the one thing I noticed. You ended up with a terminal window with like 976876443217884.com or whatever it was.
Ridiculous. I'm like, why remove that?
Yeah, it's weird, but
otherwise it is.
I find most installers, they move forward through the installation, whereas the Fedora one seems to take you in and then back out, and then
it used sort to. 28 is not so bad.
It's a little bit better than that, is it? Because that used to,
some of that.
that it's sometimes having a multi plenty of partitions, you just get a bit nervous using ones like that.
Yeah, 28 is much better than the previous versions. 27.
I have to give it a go.
Yeah, 28 you had to go. I mean, 27 you had to go back and forth at least 3 times for some reason. And I don't think I went back at all on this one.
Is that right, Chicken? Did you not go back? Did you go right through, or did you have to go in and out?
On my normal install, I just went right through. But on my desktop, so I've got like a bunch of disks that I was like setting up a software RAID on. So in that case, I had to go into the advanced and then pop back out. But on my laptop, it was just a clean shot.
Yeah, I did the default. Just let it go, see what happens, see what it does.
It does all right.
Yeah, it's much better. It doesn't make me hate it as to be.
That's a plus, huh?
Right? I mean, it could still be. There's still room for improvement, but
right.
I don't absolutely hate using it, so that is definitely an improvement.
That is a good slogan, Fedora 28. Not as bad as we used to be.
Fedora 28. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. Yep.
So is that an Avengers desktop?
Has anyone seen the distro watch list lately?
No.
Yeah, I checked it out last night on one of the streams. I saw Manjaro hit #1 while I was live.
Yeah. So does anybody know how long it's been since Mint has been put off #1 on DistroWatch?
I would have to care about the list of distro.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are meaningless. Manjaro is not the most popular.
No, probably not. I mean, a lot of people say DistroWatch doesn't matter. But the thing is, everyone keeps complaining that Mint's always there. So this is, this is a one-time thing that I can remember that
Manjaro has discovered nets.
Well, how much time has passed to be like? What is it being? What list of days is it using? Is it like the 7-day one?
By default, it's like 6 months.
Yeah, the
6
default
months is the default on its top. Yeah.
So Manjaro is #1 on the 6 months one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I still don't really care because DistroWatch rankings are terrible, but still interesting.
That's right, but it's interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, let's take let's take a poll. Raise your hand if you actually think Manjaro has more users than Ubuntu. Okay.
Good.
All right.
Raise your hand if you think Ubuntu has more distros and more users than all distros combined.
Yeah, probably.
Several times over.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to your question. Sorry.
Well, you agree. It's fine.
Okay, good.
Oh, hey, Rocco.
Yeah.
Hey, Rocco, guess what? I got Rocket League.
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna have to play some Rocket League. Something Michael hasn't done for a while.
He was just waiting for me.
Yep. You still playing that, Rocco, or not?
Yeah, when I can. I have resigned myself to the fact that it's no longer as fun as it used to be.
Why?
Because you found Minecraft.
No, because Michael just harassed me till I started using a controller.
Oh, it's so much better though.
It's so much. That's what everybody says. It's so much better with a controller, and it is so less fun now because I am
so
even
good at it.
Twice as terrible as I was before. So it is just no fun, and then you get matched up with guys that are even worse. And yeah, like I would say probably the last 3 times that I played Rocket League, out of all the matches that I played, 50% of them were me playing with bots because the 2 people would leave, and I'd be playing with bots against like three people playing together.
Okay.
I mean, that's just it's just been terrible lately.
Rocco, guess what?
What?
Unplug the game controller, go back to keyboard. And...
Yeah.
It's so less fun now.
So,
and
okay.
I don't play it that often enough to get really good. So it's like I was to a point where I was not real good at it, but I was okay. You know what I mean? Like I could get by and not look like a complete idiot. And now I went to a controller, and now it's like it's worthless.
So Rocco, I've got something for you.
What? Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Okay, so to be
there,
fair,
you go. That's what I need to do.
I think in that particular situation, if you should just go back to keyboard and mouse.
So nobody has that.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow, Michael agreed with me. Something wrong there.
Look, I agree that using the controller is easier to do certain things. Like it's easier to spin and turn, and yes, it's easier to do that stuff. But I am so not used to it, and just like it's making it unfun.
We'll make it fun again.
Anna, no.
The keyboard has to be more powerful than a controller, though. I mean,
not in Rocket
number
League.
of keys. No,
Rocket League is by far the best. You can't a keyboard. You can only go so far as like skill building. The controller is like because you have to do so much. So you have to use so many buttons at the same time. Keyboard is actually kind of a negative because it removes your one hand can only do a couple, like just the mouse buttons, and that's it. So it removes the amount of buttons you can push. So I actually I'm always at a position to hit at least 5 or 6 buttons at the same time.
Well, that's the other thing. The way, okay, so not only did I switch to the controller, but I switched to Michael's configuration of the controller. When I used to play console games, I used to play with one finger up at the top. And now, because of these controls, I have to play with 2 fingers up at the top.
I did say.
And I am so not used to that. It's like, oh my.
Yeah, but Michael's got 6 fingers.
I said by default, the default configurations are the best way to learn the game via controller.
Yes.
But if you don't want to change, go from controller to, go from keyboard to controller and then change more things on the controller, you could just start with mine, which is what I would use regardless. It is a higher level control setup, but it's an experiment, sort of.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not. It's just like I said. It's just not as fun. It's not as gripping to say, let's go play Rocket League when you are terrible at it and you've been playing it for a long time. So
what controller are you using? A 360?
Now, okay, so everybody you talk to has their own preference on controller. Somebody uses Xbox. Some will be exactly. Some will be a PlayStation. Some will be a Steam controller.
64.
And right now, I'm on a PlayStation controller, and I think I like the PlayStation controller the best out of all of them. But still, it's just using the controller to begin with is kind
You
of.
have to. You got just a cord or an adapter for it.
Just a cord.
Yeah, because I got the Steam controller and I still just can't get used. I cannot get used to that thing.
The Steam controller is great for depending on the game. Like it's not good. It's okay for Rocket League, but it's not good. So it's like it's really good for platformers.
I haven't used my Steam controller in months. But
I'm pathetic.
I haven't used my Steam controller in months.
It's a really good controller, just not for that particular thing.
Yeah.
Well, I recently discovered that Steam has games, which is why I got into this. So, like...
Interesting.
I mean, I've always just like browsed it, but never actually used it for some reason. And so I found Counter-Strike, which apparently is a thing that people can play. And
that's brand new. It's brand new.
Yeah,
it's brand new, dude.
Which apparently came out in like 2008.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
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 Playing
A
games
little
now.
bit out of date. A little bit.
Yeah. It's got stuff.
It's got some stuff. Left 4 Dead. You might like that one.
Oh, I have that on the Xbox.
Yeah, they got Left 4 Dead 2 that works in Linux.
I love that. Okay.
I don't know if Left 4 Dead works in Linux, but Left 4 Dead 2 does.
I think it does actually.
Modded as well.
Nice. So, if you want to change it, feel free, Rocco. I don't care. There are people who are pros that use keyboard and mouse. Not many.
Not very many.
No, not many.
Usually the
the
pros that use the controllers use the configuration you gave me. So
typically.
I get it.
Yeah.
But it's just hard.
There are
I've
some.
been using the keyboard and mouse ever since I got my Xbox 360.
There's one pro who doesn't change his configuration, so he does this.
Oh. Yeah, no.
They call it the crab holding. It's like, why?
That's
Change
horrible.
the buttons.
Why? I got a new mouse too.
Well, the one thing that's not good is using a wireless mouse. You get the lag in there.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Good.
This is the best mouse ever. It's like it's wireless.
Do you play with a wireless mouse?
Oh yeah, I do, because I only have a wireless mouse and I'm terrible.
Well, Steen in the chat wanted to know what everybody has for a keyboard.
Cheap.
I
just got a cheap
Razer Black Widow.
Nice.
I have the Ultra Mega Force Dell 7000.
Wow.
Logitech G910.
Okay, that's what we needed.
It's still not over 9,000.
Basic Dell. Who cares?
I got the G910 as well, so that's 2.
I got a G213.
So there you have it. There's our keyboards. Scrap?
I have an ASIO.
Nice.
Mechanical and a Myonix Naus.
Myonix,
the thing that
nice.
annoys me about the Ubuntu, I can't get the color, the Logitech color, to work properly. All it does is just scroll through the colors. I can't set a color on any Ubuntu. You go on to Arch, and there's a G815 program that you can install, and then you can set any color you want. I can't get it to work on Ubuntu.
Well, you see, Seb, you got to load Windows up. You got to map your keyboard, then you jump back into Linux.
Yeah, and it still ignores it because it's not Windows.
There's actually sometimes.
So I end up looking at a keyboard that's doing that all night long.
Oh, it's pretty.
It's changing colors.
That's I just set mine to that.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you guys that have those colored keyboards, Joe, Zeb, and the mouse too, Scrap. Is that distracting, having all the lights and stuff on
I don't even notice the lights. It actually makes it easier to see what you're typing, but there's a button to shut the lights off if you didn't like it.
See, I have this one set to just slow glow, and it just kind of rotates through them. So, and I can even stop it if I want to. So,
which one is that again, Scrap?
That's an ASIO MGK RGB. But
I
it's
like
got
the sound of those keys too. I might
blues.
have
But it has a bunch of different ones, and in this mode, I can actually select what keys I want on. So I have it set to some of my OBS macros.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah,
I have 2 keyboards, and they're both terrible.
Yeah, those are one of the few ones that work.
Like maybe half of a good one. It's close.
But that's one, that's what you got to get is one that'll work with Linux, where you could do the color changing without having the map.
Yeah, this one has all the controls built in. And then the only thing, like my mouse, the RGB that it's for is just, I have the middle wheel right below it. There's a selector for DPI. So I can, when it's blue, it's really fast if I can get it in there. And then green is like a middle DPI speed. And then red is really slow. So it's good to have that for like FPS games.
What if I want fast, but I want it to be red?
Well, then you would probably have to install the app for it through
That's
Wine.
just unacceptable.
Sometimes they work in Wine for like this kind of stuff because it accesses the device directly, but I haven't been able to get the Myonix software to work.
Ooh, there's a thought. Load up Wine and then try and run the Windows version of the program.
Is this
try it? It's worth a try.
Mm.
If it's not GPL licensed, I can't run it.
It's totally not. Totally not.
Well, if it's a Logitech mouse, it'll remember the settings because the mice most of the mice have the onboard memory.
Yeah.
But if the keyboards they don't have the onboard memory, so that's why they don't work with because you could set it in Windows if you wanted to, and then boot into Linux, but they don't. It doesn't have it, so it's not worth it. So the Razer has it though.
Oh yeah.
And Razer is another company that has started to do some Linux support more and more.
Well, they have the Open Razer project, and
but isn't that someone third party? Nothing to do with Razer, and didn't Razer say we're not helping you?
Correct.
Okay, so Razer's not good.
A Razer in the name.
But what I'm saying is, it's out there. Like for Logitech, you don't have nothing. Like you have some that are trying to make it work, but they can't make it work. At least the Razers work. They work with Linux, regardless if it's an open source program or from the company itself. They work.
Working. I'll give it like, hey, at least it works. But like I'm saying, like I wouldn't say Razer is doing anything good for us.
I didn't say they were.
I know. I'm making a clarification. That's all. It's okay.
But the one thing I'm most upset about it is the Open Razer project doesn't have the Basilisk mouse.
I bet I could get that one.
It doesn't have it yet. It's not available yet. Are you sure?
Yeah. Cool thing about most of the Razer things is that like the configs are barely changed at all. Like the only thing that changes is like the little thing that tells it where to direct its settings. Most of it doesn't actually change. It's pretty fascinating.
Well, I'll have to check that out because I do want to get this working.
Actually, I just found the article from last year where Razer actually said they were going to make the Razer Blade laptop the best Linux laptop.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and
so they
never released the Razer Blade laptop.
Yeah.
Scrap, does yours have a palm rest on it too, or no?
It came with one, but I took it away. I don't use it. I have a great big desk mat.
That's the L80 you said?
Say again?
L80?
It's an MGK.
Oh, the MGK1. Okay.
MGK1 RGB.
Yeah, because there's the reason why I thought maybe you went for the L80. I thought you said MGK because there's an actual volume dial and
yeah, there is a nice volume dial and it works. It controls the pulse audio volume, but
the Logitech volume work. Joe, your volume on there.
Yeah, it works. It works fine. The biggest thing I have issues with are the map keys on the sides. They tend to accidentally hit that all the time, and it seems like you can't change the mapping on here unless you go in the Windows to do it, which I refuse to do. And a lot of times there's one of these, I don't know if it's G1 or I accidentally hit it, and all of a sudden it brings up a Google window. And it's
this one's the calculator. This one's the email. This one's...
Use a VM and just patch your keyboard directly into that and run config software. That way Windows is in a box and it's behaving. It's not running wild among your system. Good.
Yeah.
It's basic. It only has a few different little features on it, but it's good enough.
Well,
just enough glow.
It's got the same type volume control that this Logitech has. It's got that scroll wheel, volume. But I'll tell you what, this thing weighs a ton. I have never seen a keyboard that weighs as much as this one.
Yeah, but like I don't usually pick up my keyboard, so
yeah. Well, I do. I have to. I do different things on the desk, so I move it out of the way sometimes.
I move it all the time.
I'm just teasing you, Joe. I'm just teasing.
No, I know. I guess it won't move. The nice thing is it doesn't slide around on you like that little cheapy Dell one that somebody has.
Wow.
I have two, thank you.
A shot across the bow.
Yeah, I move my wireless keyboard all the time because I just unplug the USB dongle and switch computers. I just take my keyboard with me. So
mine slides under the desk. So
everywhere you go, you take your keyboard with you.
Yeah, that way I only need one keyboard. I just take it to each computer.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
There's you could buy another one that you could leave it there.
Yeah, but I'm cheap.
That's a fair point. Hard to argue that.
That's what I did. I got 3. I've got 3 of them, so I don't have to keep swapping all the time because they're pretty cheap now. Those things.
Yeah, there are 2 types of people in this Zoom chat here tonight. Those that have really, really nice hardware, and then those of us that run garbage. I'm one of the people that run garbage most of the time.
I just buy all the cheap. I just buy all the cheap Logitech ones. They're just good enough. Something.
I am also on the garbage level.
Yeah.
And keyboard, I'll show my keyboard. It's probably the cheapest one you can find on the market. That'll do, as long as it types stuff on the screen.
Technically, I got mine for free, so that's pretty cheap.
Look, a keyboard like this, like the Logitech thing, it's not. I mean, it doesn't do anything for you. I mean, your cheap Dell is going to do the same exact thing as this. The only thing is, it's just how nice it is.
No, actually, Rocco.
How about gaming on that one?
No.
Yes.
I mean, like the Logitech has their own switches, and so they're really comparable to like the cherry switches, and like this keyboard has the volume wheel, which is an awesome feature.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you don't need that, any keyboard will do. You know what I mean? Like,
I ended up with this one for a few reasons. One, like membrane keyboards have like some kind of like you can't go over a certain amount of things locked down, like they just won't work.
Right.
But the other thing was that like the typing feels a lot better to me, and the noise and the noise and the noise
and the noise. Yeah. I get it.
This is the quietest keyboard I've ever typed on.
Is that an IBM?
Whoa. This is a BTC, and it has capacitive keys.
Beautiful.
But it's ugly, and it's a tank, and
it's retro, man. It's retro.
Oh, it's cool. It's real cool.
Catastrophically buckling switches.
No, you can't even hear them. Look, I'll put it right up to my microphone.
That's pretty cool.
Like all you're hearing is the plastic touch.
It's like listening to someone eat.
Yeah, almost.
But down here, can't hear it. But if I click my blues, you can hear them.
Yeah, you'll hear the Logitech too, though, dude. And they're made that way. I mean, people
are like
prefer it that way. Like, I don't necessarily prefer it that way, but there's people that prefer it to have that.
Pay for, Rocco?
That sound and feel. Yeah, exactly.
You get what you pay for. That's right. It's true with everything in life, isn't it? You get what you pay for.
Well, speaking of which, I went into Best Buy today. Dangerous idea.
Did you install another distro on their computers?
I was tempted, but I actually forgot my flashlight.
Wait, we got to tell the backstory. What did you do the last time you were at Best Buy?
Okay, it's not that bad. Okay, guys.
What did you do the last time you were at Best Buy?
It's funny. It's awesome.
So I installed like elementary OS on their computers, the display models, and like 3 of them.
That's awesome.
And they let you.
Yeah, of course they let me. We're really chill.
Yeah, you actually installed it, or you run it live?
No, I installed it because
you installed it.
The guy there said I could, so I did.
That's awesome.
Jacob from Best Buy.
So what's he doing with that? What's he doing with that computer now? Is he
getting fired?
He wasn't there this time. He went back.
He was like, "You're fired, but here's a free laptop with elementary on it. Get out of here."
Where's Jacob? He's not here anymore.
Okay, let me ask you this though to clarify one thing before you move on. Did you wipe the Windows recovery partition?
Yeah, no, it installed like the whole thing. It's.
Did you do it?
Okay.
It's good. No, you can't.
No.
Did you go back?
So what did you do this time?
Okay, so I saw a razor blade stealth, and I was like, "Wow, that's really pretty." And so
That needs to run elementary.
well, I forgot my flash drive this time. I was super disappointed. But I started playing with it, and I was like, man, I really want one of these. So I was just toying around with it. You know, I had Windows on it, but it was doable for the time being. You know, the display models always run fine.
Right.
That's how they get you, I think. Anyway, so I started playing with it, and I went into like the control panel, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be locked out. I think they have like security settings for this, but this one didn't work. So I started playing with it, and I turned up like the volume past 100% because you can do that in Windows. I think you can do it in Linux. Because it has like
you could do it in Linux.
Side of the keyboard, so I like turned it way up and started playing some like Imagine Dragons music. And the guy came up behind me. He was like, "Sir, do you need help with anything?" And like the music was just blaring, and he's just like giving me this dead look. He's just like,
because he didn't know what to do.
Well, I'm looking into this razor blade stealth. You know, I see it on the internet all the time, and I've always wanted one. He goes, "Okay," and he just nods his head. Like the music is just loud and distorted and horrible.
Can't fight the friction.
Not do that, and like everybody's like looking at me by this point. And so
I mean, I'm a
afraid
believer.
they're gonna ask me to leave. Slowly turning it down while this guy's just staring at me like blankly, and I'm
nice.
That's when you go over to the TVs and the surround sounds, and you do the same thing.
Yeah, I went into Best Buy
Take
2
an aux
days
cable
ago.
with you and plug it in.
But I'm
nice.
I'm gonna wait for the next gen of the razor blades and get one of those. The
Was that a
stealth.
laptop?
Yeah, it's like this really nice, like just beautiful, like black aluminum, just gorgeous laptop. I was like,
And what's the price point?
I think it was like $1,800, but
Wow.
Pretty expensive
That's
for over there.
They're like
but it
super
looks
Of
thin.
your money from your wallet.
1,800. Which one is it? Is that a Dell? Is that a Dell?
no, it's Razer.
Razer. Oh, they're just a company of their own, aren't they? Razer.
Yep.
Is it? Yeah.
Now,
okay.
this one in Best Buy is now only 1,200 because the speakers are blown.
Wow.
That's a deal right there.
I guess if you don't need speakers, I mean,
But it's got like Dolby Atmos surround stuff, and that was super cool. It was great.
yeah.
So
You got to wear a GoPro next time you go in there and do that.
I should
That'll
just
be fun.
film my adventures in Best Buy.
You should. So,
Just
Derek,
call it Adventures in Best Buy.
are we going to get you to get a Rocket League copy then, or what?
Yeah, I don't
When
know
you
what
install
Rocket-
your video card?
I already installed it. I went to Best Buy 2 days ago. He was talking about Best Buy. I needed a new video card. You know, I've been trying for a month to get OBS to work. For some reason, it just wasn't working the way it used to. And I tried everything. I finally come to the conclusion maybe my video card was the problem. Maybe it's just not working like it used to. So I went to Best Buy thinking I'd just buy something kind of cheap. Well, the 1060 was on sale for $350.
On sale.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something kind
Wait.
of cheap. Sure.
Wait, you bought it for that much money?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well,
Maybe you should have got like a 1050 and a keyboard or
Yeah.
two.
You know what?
Well,
the problem here is sales tax. I pay 11% sales tax. So,
Oh,
Wow.
ouch.
When we got our RX,
but I needed it. I needed a video card. So
Yeah.
When I bought my 1060, it was only £260 in the UK. So it's quite amazing we get it cheaper than you guys.
And Colin was it Colin that mentioned that it's more expensive? No, it was another Aussie on my channel mentioned they pay $500 Australian
$500, yeah.
for the 1060. Yeah, and why is it such a
I think it's more than that, to be honest.
really?
It's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking the 1080. The 1080 will be over $1,000, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The 1080. The 1080 here. I mean, I could have bought a Buick for the price of the 1080 at Best Buy.
Dang.
Like $699.99 plus tax, 11% tax. Okay, I'm paying $770 for.
Right.
The Titan 5, they get a good deal on that. It's only $3,000.
Yeah, 3,000.
Yeah,
When
it's
I
good.
bought my 1050 Ti, I got it on sale for $130, and I almost.
Now, that's not bad.
I wish I did, because now the cheapest one I've seen, that same card is it's the Mini, as a matter of fact, too. It's a Zotac Mini, but I think it's like 210 or 2.25 or something.
You should have bought two of them.
Have you had any problems with the Zotac?
Not one.
I've always wondered about them because they have some cheaper prices of the variants of all of the NVIDIA cards. Like, and I just wondered how the quality was because I've always had EVGA.
But truthfully, I don't run it hard. I mean, I use it for believe it or not, it's on my Windows machine I use for my accounting, so I don't run it hard. But I did some design work the other day with it. It's fine. Realistically, it's just rebrand. It's basically whatever branding's put on. It's the same card. If you look at it, it's the same card as the EVGA and the other brand names too. So, and Zotac actually, this had really good reviews when I bought it, and most people I know that have them like them.
Well, it may be the same card, but not all manufacturers are created equal. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly,
what I was kind of wondering about what the quality of their cards were.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen any real negative stuff said about Zotacs. I really haven't. So that's why I took a chance on it, and it's been fine.
Yeah, but mine's a Zotac 1060 Mini, 6 GB, and before that, I had a Zotac 960 Mini. No problem.
This is a 4 gig. Now, I will say, you don't want to buy something off of eBay that's coming from China with that name on it, because they could well have a 560 underneath cover, or.
Yeah. Well, I've always stuck with EVGA because they've always been good. Now, I was gaming the other day, and the guy was swearing up and down that the EVGAs are terrible because everyone he's had has burned out and all this other stuff. So, I mean, but yet I have never had any trouble, and I've always bought EVGA because they've been so steady. Well, but they are a little bit more expensive than the Zotac.
But see, the other thing too, though, is typically a lot of those people don't match, and I don't know if that's the case, but there are a lot of people that don't know how to match hardware, with their power supplies and stuff like that, or they possibly hook them up wrong or whatever. I mean, what I've got running right now on this machine, it's 4.5 years old. It's my MSI 760, GTX 760, and MSI. I've used a lot of MSI parts. There's people swear up and down they'd never use MSI, and I've got 2 MSI computers sitting here, and they're both fine.
That's what I
love my
replaced.
MSI.
I replaced a 760, and that thing, it was 4 years old, but it was streaming great when I started this channel. But all of a sudden, I couldn't stream at all. And even just recording my desktop, I couldn't do anything over 720, 30 frames a second. And even that looked bad. So I finally got to the point where, this card is just not doing what it's supposed to.
Well, the other thing, too, Eric, a lot of times, too, with the hardware, I haven't done it with this. But, and most people aren't going to think to do this, but a lot of times they need to be serviced. The same thing even with your computer. Most people don't know this, but realistically, if it isn't every year, every couple of years, you should pull the cooler off and change the paste or whatever, because it breaks down. It's the same thing with those video cards. I bet you nobody, unless you're Jay's 2 Cents or something like that, that's pulling cards apart all the time.
Right.
The paste does dry out on them, and they tend to overheat, and then that's a lot of times how you start burning caps or or diodes or whatever on them.
Yeah, I never changed the thermal paste.
Yeah.
So Derek,
I changed my thermal twice. Never.
Yeah, I had a good question. When it came to the distro you're using, was it consistently giving you issues, or?
Well, I hopped distros like 10 times in the last 2 months, and no matter what version of OBS, what distro, what kernel, what video driver, I mean, I spent seriously 2 months trying to figure this out. And once I just eliminated everything, I know this card used to work. And it used to work great. So I came to the conclusion it had to be hardware related. So I just went to Best Buy. Once I plugged the 1060 in, no problems. So
okay, because I know Solus and different distros, they kind of like, I don't know. It seems like they do some things that help with performance at a hardware level to enhance it and that kind of stuff. And I did that with Steam.
It didn't work well in Solus. I tried Solus. I tried a couple of different Arch-based distros, a couple of Debian-based distros. It didn't work in anything.
Did you try Puppy?
No, I didn't.
There you go.
Why is that the default answer? Why is that the default answer? Try Puppy.
You try Puppy Montana.
Try Puppy.
Puppy Montana.
Puppy Montana. That's a hard one.
Back when I used to use Windows, I know, but similar situation though, and it wasn't really tied to Windows. It was just like hardware breaking down over time. But I used to use a software called Camtasia Studio to record and edit.
Oh yeah.
And that was back in the day, like before I deleted my channel like 6 times and recreated it. I used to play
as one would do.
Yeah, as you do. And
Right. If you're English, Bob.
Great, right? I'd get like a 60 FPS video consistently, and the game itself would run at around 200 to 300 FPS. And that was fun. And then a couple months later, I was looking at really choppy performance when recording, and nothing's changed. So I figured, okay, well, I'll try something else. No, nothing changed. And it's like, it used to be perfect in this exact configuration, and now it's just degrading slowly and slowly and slowly to the point where it's almost unusable. And OBS seems to work a little better on it, but it's still, on that hardware, I just, after a while, couldn't do it.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
That was like an FX, it was a Phenom 2, I think, and it had like some kind of AMD integrated graphics. So it wasn't super powerful, but
can I give a quick shout out to OBS?
It's the best.
Yeah,
no, it's just terrible.
OpenSUSE build service, great.
OpenSUSE. I was at my church today, and we were doing like a seminar all day, and they're doing some like church and finance and legal webinar for church leaders who are treasurers and stuff like that. And the leadership team, they're a little older, so a little afraid, they're just not as techy. And I came in and offered the service of like just recording everything on OBS. And I did kind of like, I'm not super techy, but I kind of like learned enough on my feet and get pushed through. Man, they thought I was some like genius production expert because I got it working where I'm pulling in from her PowerPoint slide and then capturing her in the bottom right corner. And so, it looked like magical. They were like so blown away. Man. Yeah. Right. And so I just, the fact that these tools are getting easier and easier to use and more advanced at the same time and more stable. Holla. That is the sweet spot. And I think OBS has been like just really getting there more and more.
OBS is for you that you definitely shouldn't pay attention to.
Yeah, but I think that's part of, like you said, OBS and Kdenlive is also one of those programs that are one of those awesome programs that you need to be good in order to pull in the users. And they are good, and that's what pulls in some people. And I think it needs to go across the board with that. But OBS is just absolutely the best.
OBS and Kdenlive are great, but you want a serious pro-level tool that is free. Audacity is just fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's one of the top kings too. And they were stable for the longest time. Where I know Kdenlive was always were hit or miss depending on the release and the OS, the distro.
Until the 17.4 release of Kdenlive, it was who knows.
Precious. Yeah.
After that, it was great.
Someone in chat is saying they want XSplit on Linux.
No. That's a competitor to OBS, and it doesn't even do as many things as OBS, and it's premium. You have to pay extra for it to do less.
Yeah, it is a paid program, so
I'm cheap. So
I use paid program.
Hey, it's not that there's anything wrong with using a paid program because I'm all for supporting a program. So
I'll pay for an open source program. I'll pay for an open source program. Yeah, but
well, that's what I'm saying. If you're using Kdenlive and you like it,
I'll donate. Yeah, like at the end of the year when they're doing their drive or whatever. Yeah, I got no problem sending those guys some money.
Yep.
Quick quiz. When was the last time someone you donated something to a project in the last like month or two?
Oh, well,
a couple days ago.
When I download distros,
there's three or four programs that we donate to. So
yeah, I've been on this kick where it's like I'm trying to like kind of evangelize a little bit to get people to donate more because there's a lot of like lip service to like these awesome programs that people praise. And then I kind of like just try to feel it out there. Like, so like, how is it? What do they use for their funding and fundraising platform? Do you use, PayPal, whatever, the Libra version of that? And they don't know. And I asked like, do you give? And I'm trying to like promote this idea of like being more generous with these things, because if you think of the long-standing use case that we get out of it for so many years, and it's I don't know, I'm kind of like trying to get a little more proactive with getting.
I mean, even programs I don't use on a regular basis or at all. I mean, when I downloaded Zorin, their premium edition, to check it out on the channel, I paid those guys $24 for it,
Wow.
even though I knew I would never use it. I would never install it on my production.
Wow, that's cool.
But you know what? It's open source. I don't mind giving those guys a few bucks. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's some cases where you want to donate to certain projects, and they don't give you an option to do so.
Bingo.
Yeah. Yeah. Some distros, when you go to their download page,
it's not possible to donate to Kden Live except for the annual fundraiser they do. Other than that, there's no way.
And that's the thing that Dark One and we're going to the FOSCon. That's one of the things I'm going to be pitching for the presentation is the marketing funding bridge, because you're exactly right. Like, and that's why I'm actually considering giving to Elementary, because I think they get it. And I want to see they're developing a
Patron.
They're developing a ecosystem for developers.
I was going to say, do you like the software center in Elementary then? I
love the software center, and
and
I don't use it. I'm using Plasma, but this is what I wanted to kind of pitch you guys. I was kind of like biting at the chomp to ask you guys last week, but like this whole thing of like, if you had to bet on the new kid on the block of distros that came out, like Solus or Elementary, like who would you put your money on in 10 years? Like that would be like way more popular, way more, mainstream.
Or you may even say even be there at all.
Or that, yeah. And because of the App Center, the ecosystem, the funding models they have, or they're trying to create, I kind of put my money on Elementary, and I kind of want to. It makes me want to. I feel compelled to invest in that because they're at least trying to build that bridge, like Mike was saying, where they actually kind of make that ability to give more often, which is going to lead to
much more in touch with the community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like the way the Elementary does it because they have restrictions to be able to get into the App Center.
Elementary versus Solus is pretty easy because there's one big thing that's holding Solus back is their repos. There's just not enough software there. So,
well, the whole point of the universal apps, the app formats, is going to solve that. So, like that.
I don't know, but it's not working so far.
He said, "What do you? Who you bet for in 10 years?"
Yeah, but he said 10 years. Point, it might be, yeah.
In 10 years, I think the universal things will be pretty much the standard.
Gosh, I hope so.
No, they'll fork it.
Right now.
Well, I mean, they're not working too bad now, are they?
Oh, well, they don't have proper theme support. None of them.
No.
App images have perfectly fine themings.
Okay,
and
app image
Flatpaks have decent theming. They've actually, depending on how updated the Flatpak is, it has fine theming. Snaps have the best theming ever, 1995.
Yeah, see, there you go.
But Flatpak's not as restricted as Snaps, though, are they? Snaps aren't they more sandbox than Flatpak?
They are both sandbox.
They're the same. Yeah, it's about the same. Yeah,
they're both sandbox, but Snaps have a more flexibility. Like they're both secure and they're both sandbox, but you're more restricted to what you can do with Flatpaks than versus with Snaps.
But I'm curious.
I thought it was the other way around.
So, Mike, what was the restriction that you said you didn't like about Elementary Software Center?
You have to have a GTK app or they won't accept it.
Which I think is one of the benefits.
Unless you have a Qt app and then you can't do it.
Which is, but I mean, their entire goal is native, like keeping everything.
You can make a Qt app look exactly like the same as a GTK app. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah, but then your
everybody's
almost the same. Like the functionality provided between the two, you can make them both do the same thing. Right. You can even make CSD stuff work in Qt if you want to. Just most DEs don't. Rough. Most Qt DEs don't do the CSDs because they're terrible. But that's not the point.
But to your point, Mike, wouldn't like the universal app stuff fix that?
Not really. Because they'd have to support those formats, and the App Center doesn't support any of those formats.
Oh, yeah, they're not going to break it in.
Does Elementary, they got Snap by default in Elementary or not?
No, absolutely not.
No.
Definitely.
I don't think they have any of the formats by default, except app images.
So they're just sticking to the ecosystem of the Elementary itself. Then is that their plan?
It's super easy to get working, but by default, none of that stuff is baked in or enabled or
okay.
But I think that's a plus, even though there's a downside to not allowing Qt
QT, however you want to say it, apps in, I think that's a plus to their benefit to say that they have a set goal that they want to do and they're sticking to it.
I like having those standards.
Yeah, you have to have some type of standards in where you're going, and I think that's a good thing ultimately. It may not work for QT apps, but
you can have the interface guidelines, and that's fine. It's just the Qt theming can abide by the guidelines, but they don't allow it to even try. That's why I don't like it.
Yeah, but Daniel talked about that on the Destination Linux show, where he said that they've brought in this specific design ethos, and if you want to get your app into elementary, you have to buy into it.
Sure.
It's a bit like GNOME when they do the GNOME thing. Everybody hates them for it, but then when you get down to the nuts and bolts and you try and use it, it works.
Right. I didn't say that they were doing anything wrong. I just don't like that. But other than that, I mean, it's just my preference. I like Qt. So.
And I was able to install Kdenlive on elementary a while back when
you want to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like it's not even so much like
just the App Center itself won't accept it as the premium.
Yes.
I think you can still get it via the repo stuff.
Oh, then that's
Absolutely.
a negligible difference then to my book. Then if you can still get it,
Access.
then it's just like okay.
Well, it's in the repo. They don't even control the repo. It's an Ubuntu repo.
It's Ubuntu's repo, so you can get any.
Turned anything. on.
Oh yeah, so that's money then. So that's the way you can.
Except it's not money because you can't do the premium, and therefore it's not money.
It's not money for the apps.
Yeah, it's not money
for the
those
app
guys,
developers.
You know, but that's a workaround. If you really want, if you really want it that bad, and you'll make the GTK. But if not, it's going to be there.
No, it's not about the user wanting it. It's about the developer putting it there. They're not allowed to put it in because they don't use their toolkit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like getting that public front. It's up there and close, and it's easy to get to instead of
more or less
having to dive into your terminal and apt-get install. It's nicer to have an app store.
Well, I mean, it's as far as the app stores go. Yeah, I agree. The App Center is probably the best looking one overall. But
it is the best looking one.
Well, I mean.
No, that's interesting.
No. It is the best looking one.
Have you seen Synapse? Wait, Synaptic?
Wait, have I seen Discover? Yeah, it's the best looking one.
We're not talking about Discover. How about Muon? Muon? Have you seen Muon?
Yes, I've seen Muon.
It is glorious.
No, it's not the best looking
it's
one.
Just a package manager.
That's exactly right.
That was an interesting comment someone made in chat that I said elementary is not for new users.
What?
I totally disagree.
I can debunk
that's what their target is, really.
I totally disagree. Just bring them over, put them in front of the computer. They'll use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Elementary is
trying to say that for every distro as long as you set it up for them.
You know what I've heard people say as a reason it's not
except for the Arch stuff.
Is that like you can't enable like
Skype
PPAs by default? And I'm like, a new user wouldn't be doing that anyway. So
no.
Exactly.
But to be fair though, that was because like if you want to use something like Skype, which is something that a new user might expect to be installable, you would have to go through those hoops and to get that on there, which would require the BPA. So I think that's a fair point.
Already listed as like a workaround, like in all of the guides, like it tells you like this is how you add a PPA. Boom, done. Like
most of the time they just give you the command to do it, and they don't really tell you what that command is for and how to use it or anything.
Yeah, and that goes back to the philosophy of like, should a new user who wants to just use an open source operating system be expected to do that? And that's the whole philosophy thing. But going back to the App Center real quick was that not only does it look nice, I'm going back to like the financial aspects of this, of like they're experimenting with the nagging people to pay for something. If you got it for free, they're not going to give you the updates unless you kind of like go back and revisit the opportunity to give.
If you want to support them before you proceed with the update.
Yeah, and that's pretty. That's kind of like I'm not sure if it's going to work out, but I think it's really gutsy of them to even try and experiment in these waters. And there's just going to be one thing that's eventually going to stick in my book, and that's where we're going to see some breakthrough in the next couple of years.
I've started purchasing apps on App Center just because, first I had my doubts, whether it's secure or not. But, I mean, I started purchasing apps on App Center, and it's been great. I mean, haven't had any issues with like payments not going through or being, you know, double charged, nothing like that. So I can definitely say it's been reliable, but like I feel better being able to like give something to the developers of the software that I use so easily.
And to Mike's point, it makes it easier if it's right there. Rocco, did you ever like get socialized to like buy apps, or is that like where you still apprehensive at first because it's still early?
I haven't run elementary to. I'm not going to start buying apps until I run it.
He's
I haven't run it on a regular basis. I have it on another drive. So Juno's coming out. I'm telling you, I'm going to be switching to it as soon as it comes out.
Yep, dude, I can't wait for Juno.
Ubuntu that doesn't have. It does not a good run.
Does System 76? Does the elementary folks get a kickback because they're getting their System 76 are using like their fork or a version?
It's a collaboration thing.
No,
there's no kickback thing.
Yeah, it's not like that.
That'd be cool if it.
I was using Pop! OS.
Do you count Cassidy as getting a kickback because he worked for System 76 and elementary? Maybe,
but not by that.
Conspiracy theories begin.
I think they both benefit from it, so I think that's the main goal.
Well, I was using Pop! OS like when it launched. I downloaded it, I installed it, you know, as soon as I got home from my sickiness from eating oysters, and it was great actually. They implemented the App Center, which what they called the Pop Shop.
Yep. And that's very nice.
How
and
cute.
It was really well done. Like it was smooth. It was clean. It worked.
Isn't the Pop Shop based on the App Center?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It worked exactly.
That explains why it's good.
Exactly.
I didn't see any of the like the pay what you want stuff in there, so they're definitely keeping it more basic right now, I think.
I think that's just an elementary testing thing, and they don't want to bring it in until it's done. And I also think that the paid stuff in the App Center is closed to like for development, so they don't have it public for anyone else to use because they haven't really solidified how it works yet.
Yeah, I don't
because they're still working on it. They don't want to have people, you know, implementing something that they can't guarantee is going to work.
Yeah, but Pop! OS has really taken off. I mean, System 76 did a lot of good stuff with it. I mean, the installer, primarily the installer, is by far like it was the quickest installer I've ever used.
Is it a custom installer or is it based on something?
I think it's custom. Right?
It's a custom. It
Yeah,
does like disk encryption super well by default. It's very well done.
Very well done. We talked about it, me and Zeb, right when we first started the stream, that I had issues with it. It kind of messed everything up for me. So I won't rehash the whole thing, but it failed twice and then screwed up my whole system, even my GNOME bootloader when I did it the third time. So
that's probably because the Pop! OS does not use Grub, and it removes Grub.
Not for UEFI.
Yeah.
Oh, don't use not for UEFI.
It doesn't use Grub at all. It actually, if you have Grub, it might remove it.
It did actually remove it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's because you didn't read the changelog, Rocco. What is wrong with you?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Blame the user. Man.
What's your name, Ryan? RTFM. Yeah.
Whenever I'm
I'll
installing
get that
distros.
before we closed off. So, Rocco, now you've got some more technical people here. Rocco used, I think, Grub Rescue to help him get his Grub back. And now he's got Grub with like 42 entries that he doesn't need.
Nice.
How does he get, I mean, other than editing Grub, when he does a Grub update, they're all still there?
Yeah.
I pointed him to etc. Grub D and the 40 customs or the 25 customs, but where else would it be picking up this took from there?
How many distros do you have in that system?
Only a few.
Only a few hundred.
They're probably all just stuck.
No, but it listed like 3 different ones together. Like it listed the EFI boot something, the EFI something else, the EF. You know what I mean? Like it's not just listing Ubuntu 1804. And
it's using every version of each distro.
Everything. And so I mean, it's not a big deal.
You could manually strip those out, like with the actual files themselves, because each one should be a separate file inside of like your boot EFI.
Yeah, if it's a UEFI, for sure, it should be in there.
What about Grub Customizer? Won't that sort it out? Or?
So, no, I tried that, and it did not. So how do you install Pop! OS for, like, how would I using UEFI?
Well, before we move on to that, I have one more idea for you, Rocco. Instead of using like the Grub update, why don't you just install Grub and see if it just does a thing?
Yeah, a lot of times if you just reinstall Grub, it'll...
Yeah, so like sudo grub install and then whatever device you install your Grub to.
Yeah, I could do that.
That might help.
Yeah, how I run mine, if I'm my 2 extra drives when I hop, I just install their bootloaders directly to those drives. And then I go back to Neon and I update Grub, and it will go through them and find whatever's there. Sometimes it doesn't always boot them, but I can always F11 at my BIOS splash screen. No big deal.
Well, that's what I
usually.
That's exactly what I usually do. But this time it kind of like messed everything up.
Yeah, I normally have like a whole bunch of separate EFI partitions for each distro. Like I keep them all separate and do it at the BIOS level.
So you haven't tried installing
it's the safest way to do it, though.
So have you tried installing just another distro to see if that just fixes the grub up, or?
Actually, Ubuntu, I installed it on another drive, and I guess the computer is now using that grub to boot off of. If I would boot off that drive particularly, like this GNOME edition drive, I don't know. I think it would still go default back to that other one.
Probably.
Right.
But in terms of the Pop! OS thing, so you're definitely using UEFI, Rocco, for all of your stuff?
As far, yeah.
Okay, so that's what makes it kind of difficult, because Pop! OS will not use Grub for new UEFI installs. Like, they're just not using it. So you could try going into the manual partitioner and like manually doing that, but don't point any of the Pop! OS stuff at any existing partitions. If you're going to do it, you're going to have to like create a separate boot EFI and like a separate this and that. Because like,
well, I pointed them to, like, I pointed the the boot to the FAT32 partition that I had.
Yeah, that you don't want to do that.
And yeah, well, well, now you tell me.
Yeah, that's not good. It's not going to work for us. Thanks.
That's a bit like Fedora used to do a couple of versions ago. It would, during the install, reformat the EFI partition. It was like, no, I've got OSs on there.
Zeb, that was a feature.
Yes, you're right. It's not a bug. It's a feature.
It's a clean slate feature.
But why would I used after it? So
But why would... Okay, so, I mean, I get you want to use whatever for your distro, but I can't be the only guy trying to install Pop! OS using UEFI.
Right. So typically the advice, though, is like to not install the bootloader, like that stuff, on an existing one. Like,
and apart from Solus, every other Ubuntu, Arch, every other distro I've ever installed just works. So why do they have to be different?
Well, they're not really that different. If anything, they're actually using a similar method to Solus.
And Solus is a pain in the backside, because the only way I can get that to boot is to go into my BIOS thing.
Exactly. So really the only advice I have is it's not meant to be like a, hey, you have this thing that can help you run a whole bunch of other distros. Its primary goal is to make
on their hardware
it's work as best as possible. Boot as quickly as possible, boot as efficiently as possible, as safe as possible. It's not really worried about your other OSs. So, like, if you're going to do it, you have to keep it separate from the other ones. You don't have to, like...
It's going to make your other OSs pop out of existence.
Yeah, there you go.
But the thing is, though, the speed increase is... It's not visible. I can boot Peppermint in 3.5 seconds. I can boot Solus in 3.5 seconds.
It's not visible to you, maybe, but in a lot of scenarios, it is. So I can give you like multiple examples where I install it, say, on my laptop, and I'll see the difference, you know, between like literally a few seconds and like 10 to 11 seconds. Like, not every hardware will have the same benefit. And it depends on what needs to be initialized, how quickly it can be initialized, and in what order it's being initialized in. So this depends on like drives you have. This depends on like graphics hardware you have, like all kinds of things that need to get started up all at once. Like
I only ever count from when I get to the grub screen anyway, which you never do in Solus unless you go in and do that CLI.
Yeah, because it's right there anyway.
Yeah, so I only ever count how fast a distro loads from grub, because my main machine takes like 42 seconds to get all of the hard disks ready anyway. So I don't count that because that's just a thing.
Yeah, but in fairness, you're comparing it to like the 2 fastest boot times ever made.
Yeah, but okay, so you go to the other distros and there's still like only 6 or 7 seconds to boot from grub.
It all just depends.
It depends, and especially like there are some DEs that take way longer than others.
Yeah. You know,
Ubuntu, no.
You know what's funny actually is I'm running Fedora 28 on my desktop, and it's actually with GNOME. It's actually booting quicker than anything else that I've used so far, with the exception of Solus.
I am going to say that this Ubuntu 18.04 probably takes, I'm going to say 20 seconds to boot, maybe longer.
Ouch.
But I justify that with the fact that I don't reboot that often, so it's not that big of a deal. Once it's booted up, it's fine.
I'm the same way. I think Plasma is about the same as well.
Are we only starting out?
Wow.
Yeah. Are we only starting our operating systems in an emergency, or what's?
Well, it depends. It's very important, and it's an emergency for me to be on the computer as much as possible at all times.
That's true.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't reboot that often, so. Yeah.
But Rocco, like if you need some like quick tips or like any advice with that stuff, like I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, I do want to get Pop! OS installed because I want to try it out.
I should have been there earlier, man.
You should have.
So what's the deal?
It's Chicken's fault.
It's Chicken's fault.
Have they got is there a situation in the install of Pop! OS where you can choose not to install it anywhere? The boot itself?
No, because it only works with one type of boot.
Yeah.
So it's got no grub. So you just install it to the part, no grub at all. So you got to install it to that partition, and it should show up, or it won't show up. Or how does that work?
No, the fact that it doesn't have grub, it actually can't use grub. So when it sees grub, it will disable grub.
It like speaks to like
and you have to have a UEFI partition. Yeah, you can't install it to the root directory of the dev. Let's say you got dev SDA 1 to 7. If you've installed an OS, you can tell it put grub on SDA 5.
Right.
You can't do that with Pop! OS. You have to tell it, here's the EFI partition.
Well,
so what, the FAT32 one you're talking about? Are you talking about the FAT32 EFI?
That's the EFI. Yeah. You can give it an EFI anywhere. You can create an EFI for it to point to. It just needs one. But more or less, like the entire point of it is that like it kind of cuts out the middleman. Like it's speaking to a much like lower level of like the actual hardware itself to just straight into the OS instead of going into a bootloader, which is like 1990s technology, and then into the OS.
Are you advocating for systemd? How dare you?
They have their own hardware. I don't, it's if you have your own hardware and they're trying to like it's a generosity thing if they're sharing it out as ISO of other people to install on other systems, but it's primarily for their hardware.
Yeah,
and
I definitely think that it might be necessary to make like a little guide for like not completely toasting everything else on your system.
I agree.
So maybe I'll work on that.
Or a warning system.
Yeah. Well, it could have a warning system in the install to say, hey,
this
is
a
little EFI warning here.
Go find chicken.
Hey, see you have you want to destroy your system? No.
See, I was running my multiple partitions on legacy. I've now moved to UEFI because I was having problems with Mate. So I've got a FAT32 partition now. I installed the first one to the FAT32, but what I've noticed is nothing controls the grub, which is what it used to do in legacy. You just install to a partition, it just shows up on the shows up on the screen. But I did install the very first one to the FAT32. But the others, I haven't done that. They just show up automatically. So if I was to install Pop OS... Sorry?
So typically when you've got these OSs, like whenever Grub gets an update, which will happen with like kernel updates, it'll happen if you install like some kind of file system drivers, fuse thingies or whatnot. Like whenever anything ever touches Grub, Grub will look for anything installed on the machine. And that's why it shows up. So even if you never touch it or you never point it anywhere, anytime it gets interacted with, it more or less searches for anything.
Right. I'm still a bit confused. So would I have to make another FAT32 for Pop OS to integrate with all these other OSs, or you just can't do it?
It's not going to integrate at all, more or less. Don't want
to. Just don't do it. Okay.
Yeah, like just if you want to install it on the same system, more or less just keep it separate.
If you do that, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think you can do it at all.
It's technically possible to like give it some way to kind of like fall back if it doesn't work. But by that point, like you've already gone through way too much trouble to kind of create a system to protect you against something that is completely.
Because I was going to try Pop OS. I was going to download that today. So I'm glad, Rocco. I'm glad you know. Unfortunately,
you're glad that I had all this trouble.
Thank you.
I'm trying to put it in a nice way.
I'm glad I could be the testing bed for you, Colin.
Thank you, Rocco.
Well, all you got to do, Colin, is, as Shikin said, create another little EFI partition and point it to that instead.
Just give it a separate thing to do, and it's fine.
Or you can go and take Richard Stallman's advice and go to a user group
and
get it installed.
Yeah.
But we won't mention Richard Stallman here because, you know.
Oh, is it taboo? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just...
I saw the interview from that I forgot the actual YouTuber.
Swapnil.
Yeah. Swapnil.
I just want to give props where props is due. He got almost like a little loud with Stallman when he told him, like, you got to listen to me too. I'm trying to give you context to the question. You got to listen to me. And he just kind of like escalated trying to talk over him. And I was impressed. Like Richard Stallman actually, you know, sat back and actually tried to listen to the question. I was like, someone's sticking up for themselves in an interview with Richard Stallman. That's awesome.
Well, you should watch the previous interviews he did with Stallman. They were not the same. I think he was just like, okay, we're not doing this again.
Yeah, he was like, I'm the captain now. All right. He pulled one of those on him. He was like, I'm the captain now. And I was rooting for him, man, because I saw the other one with another YouTuber, and it was painful. Yeah, that was painful. So
Stallman is a horrible interview. If you guys have seen any of his other interviews with YouTubers yet, it's always like pulling teeth trying to get him to.
It's not an interview. It's just a view.
Yeah. He just repeats his own talking point stuff.
And don't mention Linux unless you say the Linux kernel. Don't mention open source at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so
question on that where
we're gonna end it on that because he doesn't deserve the time on the channel. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, burn!
He's a hero.
Just saying.
Burn.
He don't deserve the time on this channel. Everybody get a last word. PZ.
Don't forget to catch us on YouTube and Twitch tomorrow for another live Destination Linux.
Derek.
Richard Stallman's a hero.
Oh my gosh. Colin.
I'm going to be a maverick. I will try Pop OS.
Yes. I love
it. Good luck.
I've only got four distros installed on 11 partitions so far. So, look, they're all new. I've done my videos, so I'm going to see what I can do to install it, and I'll let you know.
Check out KOS and Bunsen Labs as well.
All right.
Lamer?
Might give Zebian a try.
Zebian, yeah.
It's not bad.
Is that the XEBIAN or something? Is it?
No, it's a Debian, but with just an XFCE that tries to make it look like a Ubuntu.
Yeah. Now, how do you spell
based
that?
on unstable, though.
XEBIAN. Yeah, it's
on that's right. Yeah. That's right.
Debian with an X. Is it
nice?
Mm-hmm. Joe?
Ubuntu 1804 and Zoom Audio.
Ah.
Oh my
That wasn't just
God.
the last word. That was like the last sound effects.
I'm not lying, right?
There's one person not impressed with that comment.
Scrap.
Well, I've got another video out where I installed KX Studio on 1804 Ubuntu, and my thoughts are on the end of that video if you want to see it. And
Nice.
working on some more standard intro outro stuff for the channel, and hopefully this next week I'll have the MIDI OSC stuff.
Nice.
Cool.
So scrapjaw.studio on YouTube.
Nice.
I'm subscribed.
Big Daddy Linux Live, sponsored by Best Buy.
Yes. Not really, but that would be another rumor. That would be the second rumor we started tonight. The first one was the dev from. What rumor did you start, Derek?
Voids in prison.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the dev from. Michael.
Check out Destination Linux tomorrow and tuxdigital.com all week.
Amazon.
Nice.
Pathetic.
I successfully finished my Ubuntu GNOME challenge, and I'm still here. I'm still alive.
See, you made it.
I made it.
And next time we're gonna have to talk about the whole GNOME challenge and what came of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one more video on that. So, and it's gonna be sponsored by the
Best Buy.
FSF.
I love talking about GNOME.
All right, so everybody check out Destination Linux tomorrow. We'll be doing live stream. You can check out Michael and all his t-shirts. You gonna have a Destination Linux t-shirt on tomorrow, Michael?
He's popping it.
You mean the Linux is everywhere t-shirt? Yes.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, check it out tomorrow. We'll be live at noon Eastern. Otherwise, we'll see you guys back here next week.
Peace.
Later.
See you guys.
If I had one, you should send me one. I'll wear it.
I only have 4 fingers.